If the common elements are privately owned, how are they affected by the various governmental orders at the state or county level?
Well, I'll jump in on that. I mean, we have different levels of emergency orders since this pandemic started. We have state orders, county orders, and municipal orders. So we have to look at how those affect us. As Dana was indicating earlier, I think the city of Sunny Isles Beach was perhaps one of the earlier municipalities to close pools, even before the county or the state got involved. So as a private community, that community can institute regulations, temporary rules to protect the interests of the unit owners. But otherwise, once the county emergency order went into effect, for example, closing all pools and gyms in Miami-Dade County and beaches and so forth, we are bound by those orders. We cannot be less restrictive than the county orders. So we cannot, in condominium associations, open up our pools while the county emergency order remains in full force and effect.
That's absolutely correct. So we can't just open up the pools before the county lifts the restriction. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So what's interesting about this county order, as Bob well described, basically orders that all pools, hot tubs, golf courses, tennis courts, basketball courts, fitness centers, gymnasiums, and other common use amenities, whether of a commercial or non-commercial nature, are closed for all purposes. So the order doesn't apply to pools and tennis courts and so forth if it's in a single family residential lot or in any townhouse, duplex, or villa. But in fact, it does uniformly apply to condominiums. So
right, I would just want to note that the most recent county order, I think, we have a partial reopening. So golf courses, tennis courts, and some of the parks have partially reopened. For example, tennis courts, you can play singles but not doubles and so forth, and the same thing on squash courts. And there are restrictions on, our condos don't have golf courses, but they may have tennis courts. So, but again, the associations can be more restrictive than the county order. And we know that some of the municipalities are not following the county order because they're not opening their parks and tennis courts and so forth yet at this point.
That's absolutely correct. And so how long is that county order going to last, Bob?
Well, they're doing it in phases, and I don't think that Mayor Jimenez has made it quite clear yet, when he would institute phase 2, and I'm not even sure what phase 2 would be at this point. But I think they're looking at what the reaction of the public is. I mean, if we've seen in Miami Beach, for example, where people went crazy, so to speak, down in South Point Park, and there were thousands of people out and not complying with, so the distancing requirements and the CDC requirements, without wearing face masks and so forth. So the city turned around and closed the park. So this is going to be a sort of a case-by-case basis, and we have to see how the public in general responds to the orders, and also within our communities, how our unit owners respond and whether they comply with safe distancing requirements and so forth as common facilities start to reopen.
So,
but probably, I'm thinking, as you said earlier, before some of the folks joined us, that, perhaps in June, we'll see additional lessening of restrictions.
So the government can giveth and taketh away, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if in fact the county or the city or any municipal body lifts the restrictions and then they're not adhered to, Joann, the county can basically change its mind, right?
Exactly. And that's where management really needs to implement some tough guidelines, because as they loosen the restrictions and say a pool can open and the tennis court you can play singles, we have to have the staff ability to be sure that that is what is being followed. So
Exactly.
that's very, very important on our behalf.